You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB. Football Fever with News Talk ZB's voice of football, Jason Pine and Bonnie Jansen.
A day later than normal, but still the same crew. For Football Fever, I'm Jason Pine. Bonnie Jansen's here too. Hello, Bonnie.
Kia ora, Piney. How are you?
Very good, very good. We've waited a day because we wanted to take in the Football Ferns Olympic qualifying final against the Solomon Islands when we spoke today. Normally we're out on a Monday, but we've delayed it a day so we can talk about that. In fact, I think we should start there. Fairly emphatic from Jitka Klimkova's team against the Solomon Islands, albeit a limited Solomon Islands team, 11-1. Job done, I guess, for the Football Ferns, eh?
Yeah, it's good on the team. Congratulations to the Football Ferns. It's hard not to kind of take that win with a grain of salt without sounding too critical. You know, they're playing these Pacific Island nations. They should be scoring that many goals, if not more. Again, obviously well done to the team, but I think it's what comes now and what's next.
Just before we do look at what's next, they seem to improve across the tournament. The scores would say so. Tonga 3-0, and we spoke about that last week, how we didn't think that was perhaps as comprehensive a scoreline as it should have been. Then 6-0 against Samoa, 5-0 against Vanuatu in pool play, 7-1 over Fiji in the semis, 11-1 over the Solomons in the final, which in theory should have been the toughest game. So I kind of felt as though New Zealand grew into this tournament and, you know, really, you can only play what's in front of you. Scoring 11, it's kind of hard to find fault with that, isn't it?
No, yeah, exactly. And I guess like any team, you want to spend as much time as you can together. And this tournament was really good in the fact that they were together for a couple of weeks, which was really positive. And we could see that in the display yesterday that they started to finally gel and I guess Jitka kind of found the perfect lineup with the players she had available. So, yeah, it is really positive considering after that first game they had where they won just 3-0 and we were kind of asking these questions going, oh no, what's the rest of this tournament going to look like? So, good on them that they could get better as the tournament went on.
I know it's been a bit of a pet project of yours tracking the Football Ferns goal scoring, and it hasn't, to be fair to you, taken up much space on a piece of paper because they haven't scored that many goals in recent times. You know, we've talked about the win over Norway at the World Cup. Since then, very little in the way of goal scoring. So look, that was put right here, again with the caveat that it was against a lower standard of opposition. But will the likes of Grace Jale and India Page Riley and others have gained confidence from hitting the back of the net for New Zealand, regardless of who it's against?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, something that the Ferns have struggled with is just kind of that passing and being clinical in the final third. So these games, and that's the positive, I guess, in these games is they've got the time with the type of opponent being, you know, not up to play with them. So they've got time in and around the box to work on combinations and just have a go, and more times than not, obviously they're going in, which is always a bonus. So yeah, it gives them absolute confidence, and we've seen, you know, some players really starting to gel together, and yeah, I think it's positive for sure.
You've landed, though, on the most important point, and that is that they carry on with this. The main problem with the Football Ferns, certainly in the Olympic Games and World Cups as well, is that they have no trouble qualifying for them out of Oceania. But when they get to them, those pinnacle events, it's actually scoring goals, winning games and making progress, which they haven't managed to do at all. So you look ahead to the Olympics now, which New Zealand have qualified for. We don't know who they're going to be playing yet. Got a couple of games against Thailand coming up in April as part of their build-up. In terms of players who might come back, who weren't in Samoa for this one, who are the sorts of players that you think, you know, will still have a role to play as we head towards the Paris Olympics?
I mean, as much as in all due respect to some of the veterans, I think we saw in this tournament a nice opportunity for these young players, and they were good, you know, talking about someone like Macy Fraser, who unfortunately missed the last couple of games, but she was solid, and Jackie Han, more time on the ball, Grace Jale, India Page Riley, some of those players. So yeah, I want to see more game time for them, and with that, you know, maybe we could ask a question like, is Ali Riley coming back? Can Rhea Percival come back? And players like that. Obviously, we're missing CJ Bott. I think, could you consider her a veteran? I know she's not quite as old as some of the players, but yeah, she'll obviously be back in the mix. But yeah, it's Yitka has some questions to ask because these young players that at this tournament did the job for her.
Yeah, the only other one I think is in the conversation who wasn't there is probably Malia Steinmetz. I think she'll be a big part. And for me, CJ Bott comes back into this team. I don't have any idea about the circumstances behind CJ Bott's recent omission from the Football Ferns. All I can hope is that whatever it is has resolved itself and she is in the team for the Olympics. Okay, I'm going to give you some names and I'll just say yes or no if they go to the Olympics. Okay. In a squad of 18, remember, a squad of 18.
Are we including the training players? Because last time they took 3 training players.
All right, okay, I'll allow it. Okay, in a squad of 21 then, 18 plus 3. In a squad of 21 for the Olympics, do these players go? Ali Riley.
Yes.
Rhea Percival.
Yes.
Hannah Wilkinson.
Yes, but I'm not sure if I back that, but yeah.
All right. Betsy Hassett.
Yeah, she'll go.
All right. Erin Naylor.
No.
Okay, well, so you're including a number of veterans there, which means there are fewer places for some of the players who have come in and taken their places during this tournament. You think there was no Steinmetz, no Bott, no Percival, no Ali Riley at this tournament. So if those 4 are coming back, then 4 are dropping out. And then you start to look at the players who played in their positions. Kate Taylor, for example, played in that little defensive midfield role that has been filled by Malia Steinmetz. I'd quite like to see Kate Taylor involved moving forward for as much as possible because, she is one for the future. Mackenzie Barry, similar, in a right back spot that, Ali Riley has played right and left back. There's Mickey Foster there as well. So I think there's some thinking to do, and I hope that there is not sentiment here in that this could be the last major tournament for a couple of the players that I've mentioned, and that Yitka Klimkova is able to make some pretty challenging calls to say, you know what, I'm not going to take you, so that might be it for you in a Ferns jersey.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously I said yes to those players, but that's because I think Yitka will hold on to that sentiment of bringing them. And I guess there is some really good leadership from those players, but I think we're past that. I think, there's this new blood coming through, and you mentioned those young players like Kate Taylor, Mac Barry, and they're a leader in their own right. And yeah, I don't know if we need those players anymore. They've done a great service to the team, but I think we're ready to, for a transition, and it'd be good for Yitka to make a statement. She's still got a few more years left on her contract. She'll go to another World Cup, all going well for her, and why not rebuild the team now?
See, I look at a couple of players you've mentioned. To me, if Macy Fraser isn't a rusted-on member of that 18, in fact, if she's not in the starting 11 for the first game of the Olympics, then something's wrong for me. She has proven at A-League women's level and in the game she played in Samoa that she is up to it. Yes, again, we can look at the quality of the opposition, but Macy Fraser is the future. She's a rare thing in terms of her creativity, her ability to score goals, but also to set them up. She's a set-piece threat. To me, Macy Fraser is one of the first names you write down in this team. You look at Jackie Hand, clearly going to be there. Grace Jarley has found her scoring boots, a hat-trick against Fiji in the semis and another couple in the final. So, she has to be part of all of this moving forward. I would just really like to see some courage in the selections for the Olympic Games. Like you, I get the feeling that maybe that courage won't be in full force. I think some players... up-and-coming players will come in. I think, for example, I think they only take 2 keepers, but if there's a third one in the train-on, then I think Brianna Edwards has gone past Erin Naylor, who's not even playing for a club at the moment. Anna Leet and Vic Esson still probably 1 and 2, in whichever order you decide. But yeah, I as I say, without wanting to labour the point, I would love to see a bit of courage, but I'm not absolutely confident that it'll be shown when the team for Paris is unveiled. Yeah,
no, you're exactly right. I agree. We saw it. We saw how these players worked so well, and before Macy, got injured, her and India Page Riley and Grace Jarley and Jackie Hand up top, like what an attacking force, and Macy without bringing her up too much, we don't have players like that. New Zealand football doesn't produce players like that, and she is so creative. And we've got nothing to lose. We're not performing with the veterans, so why not? Let's change the cycle now.
Yeah, absolutely bang on. So, a couple of games, as I say, against Thailand in April in Christchurch for the Football Ferns. More games, I think, to be announced. The draw for the Olympic Games is still to come, and I saw some correspondence in the last 12 hours or so talking about which pot New Zealand might find themselves in, and it's based on world ranking and things like that. So, we wait to see. Whoever they play, it's going to be tough. Probably tougher than a World Cup, to be honest. It's actually harder to get to the Olympics in many ways than it is to get to a World Cup. So whoever they play, it'll be a challenging pool in Paris for the Football Ferns. We wait and see what happens in terms of selection and who they will ultimately play at the Olympic Games. They make mention of the fact the Football Ferns have been at the Olympics every time now since 2008.
Football Fever.
Let's move our attention to the A-League. Both the Wellington Phoenix men and women in action over the weekend, and in fact in action simultaneously. Well, that was the plan anyway on Sunday afternoon. Both of these games were supposed to kick off at 5 o'clock. An odd decision anyway to schedule two games with the same football club involved at the same time. As it happened, though, the men's game was delayed due to lightning strikes in Campbelltown, which I was fortunate enough to experience, Bonnie. I was lucky enough to be at Campbelltown on Sunday for this game. Thunder and lightning, heavy rain, doubt over the start of the game, a delayed start. Alex Rufer injures himself in the warm-up. He's out. No Pennington, no Tim Payne, no, other players also, missing, first-team players not at there. Bojidar Kraev was the other one. Sam Sutton still injured. The Phoenix still won and stay 5 points clear. It's just remarkable.
Yeah, actually, Piney, it was 7 o'clock for us here in New Zealand. I know you had the luxury of being there.
I was on Australian time. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you were. It was actually a late finish. But what a game. And you mentioned all that, and I have to admit, I wasn't too hopeful for this one. And I was like, maybe this is the start. I think MacArthur had been performing really well, and they were going to give us a really, really good game, and they did. And, going into that game, I was thinking, it's not going to go our way today. So impressed, so stoked that they completely proved me wrong, and it was such a good game, I thought.
Yeah, it was a really exciting watch, and you're right, MacArthur was 7 unbeaten, as were the Phoenix. MacArthur were at home, although Wellington had beaten them there earlier in the season fairly convincingly. But I think every sort of pre-game prediction I saw, especially given the unavailability of the Wellington players, was for MacArthur to win the game. That's I think was the commonly held view that they would win this one at home, and the Phoenix would lick their wounds and say, well, we're missing a few, and we'll carry on and play Perth next week and see if we can get back on the horse then. But Costa Barbarouses 2 goals. The first a penalty, which I didn't think was a penalty. I don't know what you thought. I thought it was very soft. But you take it if it's given to you. You have to feel, though, for MacArthur, who had their own penalty shout early on chalked off as well, or they went to VAR. That was given as not a penalty. I didn't think that one was a penalty either. So I think the VAR got that one right, but I don't think the VAR even looked at the second one. Must have looked at it and if there was an obvious error. I think Lucas Kelly-Heald, at best, gets a tiny clip on the ankles. Enough to bring him down, don't know. Enough for a penalty? Well, referee Sean Evans clearly thought it was. Dispatched by Costa. I don't know what you thought. I didn't think it was a pen.
No, I think it's not a pen, and you obviously said that first shout earlier on shouldn't have been a pen either down the other end, but I think that's a pen if the Phoenix one is,
yep.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, the Lucas Kelly-Heald one, yeah, good on him for coming away with that. A pretty smart young player he is for going down, whether he did deliberately or not. But yeah, as you say, we'll take it. But yeah, not a pen.
No. Second goal, no controversy over that. Costa getting on the end of a move which involved David Ball and the outstanding again Ben Old, who squared it back across goal for Costa to squeeze it home for his 10th goal of the season now, and 4 in 2 games against MacArthur. He must wish they could play them every week. They had to withstand a fight back from MacArthur. They pulled a goal back, and it was kind of backs to the wall for the last little bit, but they held on. I was so impressed with some of the young players. Isaac Hughes getting a game with obviously some injuries at the back. No Tim Payne, so they went to a back 3 with Wootton, Sermon, Isaac Hughes. I thought he was terrific. Matt Sheridan off the bench, I think, didn't look out of place. Finn Conchie had to step in, with very short notice to start in place of Rufer. Thought he had a solid first game in his first start, but I circle back to Ben Old, and I mean, what a talent! The ceiling on this kid, he could be anything. Yeah,
he's so good, and I guess we could compare him to someone like Macy Fraser in the women's team. Like these 2 awesome players that are just doing so well and are real prospects to be key for both their respective national teams going forward. But yeah, I think Ben Olds had an unreal season, and the fact he can both start games and come off the bench, and it doesn't seem to faze him, and he's just consistently delivering performances in whatever role he's asked of.
Yeah, and he's not even 100% fit. That's the thing. Yeah. He's not even fit. He's getting there, obviously, but he came off the. He left the field after about an hour or so the other night. So clear that they're trying to protect him as much as they can, but his contributions are just so integral to this side. Great to see Oscar Zavada make a return. And Houston Salas was the other one off the bench. A first appearance for Wellington for the new recruit out of Costa Rica. I thought he gave a pretty good account of himself. I quite like the way Houston Salas, with the yellow cornrows in his hair, went about his business, Bonnie.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, like the yellow braids. It was awesome. But I guess, we had a lead, and he came on and did his job, and you always want to see a team kind of hold out their lead, and good on him. So yeah, I think it's a good signing for the Knicks.
So the Phoenix continue to march on. So 36 points now. That is more than they got in all of last season, Bonnie, when they snuck into the top 6 right at the end. So after 18 games, they already have as many as they had after 26 games last year. They've never had this many points at this stage of the season. Even in the 2014-15 season, which is often cited as the best, and certainly was points-wise for the Phoenix, they finished that season with 46. If you look at after 18 games, they had 30 points. So, this team just continues to, accumulate. And the fact that after, 18 games, they've only lost 2. That's, again, who saw this coming?
I know. It's just, I just can't believe it. I was on the phone with my dad, and after Saturday night, and we've been fans from the start, and we're kind of like, okay, we've got to actually start thinking about booking our trips down to Wellington for the playoff games. Like this, it's a real possibility that they're going to go far, and I just hope that they can come out as preliminary winners, because they've done everything right so far, and there's no reason they can't win that title. So, I just really hope they can hold on.
Just a word on the points table. So they are 5 points clear at the moment. There's a catch-up game tonight, Melbourne Victory and Western United. If Melbourne Victory were to win that game tonight, they would move up to, they'd only go to 31, so actually it would still be a 5-point lead. They would just draw level with Central Coast. So regardless of the result in that game, the Phoenix would still be 5 points clear. I still, after all these games this season, I'm just still conditioned to look at how far ahead they are of 7th. Because often the Phoenix are sort of in and around 4, 5, 6, or even 7, 8, 9, trying to squeak into the 6, and you look at how many games are left for these teams. The Phoenix are currently 14 points clear of 7th placed Melbourne City. 14 points clear. It would take a catastrophe now for them to fall out of the top 6.
Yeah, I think, Piney, your task this week is to do the maths, how many more wins we need to secure a spot in the playoff, because it can't be far off, right?
I'm happy to do those calculations for you, Bonnie. No problem at all. I'll give that. I'll write that down as my next assignment. Next assignment for Wellington is a trip. They've stayed in Australia. They'll head across to Perth, where they take on Perth Glory late on Saturday evening, New Zealand time, 11:45 to be precise. That game kicks off. Now Perth are on a good little run. They beat Brisbane last time out 3-2. a 3-3 draw with Adelaide, a 4-2 win over Melbourne City, a 2-2 draw with Macarthur, and a 2-1 win over Western Sydney. So 5 games unbeaten. In fact, the last time they lost was against Wellington at Unite Round, that crazy 4-3 win. So, yeah, Wellington certainly won't have it easy against a Perth Glory side who are on a bit of a roll and themselves will sense a chance for a late season run to make their way into the top 6.
This is Football Fever.
At the same time, or as I say, scheduled at the same time, but actually kicking off at 5 o'clock Australia, 7 o'clock New Zealand time, the Wellington Phoenix women had their latest game against Western United, and their away day troubles continued. A 3-0 loss for Wellington. You can, though, look at the lineup, can't you, Bon, and say there are so many players missing on Ferns duty and Mariana Speckmeyer injured. This was a team that was almost cobbled together by Paul Temple.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's really gutting, that result, because, I mean, I watched the game and it definitely didn't feel like a 3-0 loss. The team that stepped up, and it was quite a young team and players we saw who haven't had many minutes across the season, that they stepped up, and I thought they did really, really well, and they had both opportunities at the end of the park. Yes, Western United were definitely the better team. Were they a 3-0 better team? I'm not sure. But yeah, as you say, we weren't expected to win this one, both on our track record across the ditch and with all those players missing. Paul
Temple did mention, though, a number of young players he was almost forced to use, but did use. You look at the bench, Helena Errington coming off the bench. Ella McMillan got another appearance. Mania Elliott, we know, has been quite a big part of the matchday squad this season. Daisy Brazendale got a first start. So, look, the academy is working there at Wellington, isn't it? They are producing players who are A-League ready, and I guess, regardless of the circumstances, the A-League minutes for some of those players I've just mentioned will be valuable as they forge a professional career.
Oh, absolutely, and we can't be too disappointed with it. That's clearly what was happening over on the men's side over the last few seasons, and it's working for them this year. So if we've got to kind of just ride out these waves and give these younger players these minutes, in 2 years' time, it could be a different story. So yeah, not all bad, I guess, with that result.
I didn't actually watch a game because I was at the men's game, so I wasn't able to keep tabs on it. But did Wellington have any chances, any clear-cut chances to score any goals in this one?
Yeah, there were definitely a few, and Emma Main was pretty solid up the right-hand wing, and she kind of, when she got her head, I actually grew up playing with Emma Main, but I know that when she's got her head and she knows what she wants, she just put her head down and go for goal. So she got a few shots on target, and yeah, again, I think it was like 27 shots on target to 5 maybe against Western United. So not great, but again, it was still quite competitive. I thought Riley Foster actually had a really good game. I haven't rated her in the last few matches that she's had before her suspension. So yeah, no, it was positive, I guess, all round.
And let's not forget, Western United are top. They went top or stayed top with that win. So, it wasn't a game that Wellington were expected to win by any stretch of their imagination, given their opposition and the fact that they were missing so many. So there's a weekend off for the A-League women's this weekend, and then there are 6 games to go. Wellington are currently 9th on 19 points. They are 4 points outside the top 6. Their remaining games: Melbourne Victory away, Perth Glory away, home to Sydney FC and Adelaide United, away to Canberra United, and home to the Western Sydney Wanderers. Now, the Wanderers, Canberra, Adelaide are all in the bottom 6 at the moment. Melbourne Victory are currently 4th. Perth Glory are in the bottom 6 as well. Sydney FC are 3rd. So of the 6 games Wellington have left, 4 of them are against sides who are outside the top 6 currently. Put your I was going to say put your money where your mouth is. I'm not going to ask for any of your money. Do the Wellington Phoenix make the top 6?
It's a real tricky one, and I'd be gutted if they didn't, considering the start they had to their season. They've proven that they're a good side, and I don't know what's happened to them in the last few weeks, last few months, rather. So I'd be gutted if they miss out, but I've just got this feeling that they can't come back from this kind of rut that they're in. Yeah, they're going to have to really kind of come together, and Paul Temple as well is going to have to find his best lineup with players out and injured and things like that. So who knows? Anything can happen. As you say, they've got easier games and harder games to come, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
It's the A alongside the away that worries me, Bon. It's been so challenging for the Phoenix to pick up anything on the road. You almost expect that they'll win their home games okay, especially against the likes of Adelaide United and Western Sydney Wanderers, who are, as I say, teams that haven't really set the world on fire. Sydney FC will be fairly pivotal at home. So if they can somehow continue along their winning way at home and scrape together a couple of results away, they're still in the mix. It's really tight. As I say, Wellington have got 19 points. But the teams above them, Perth 23, Western Sydney 23, Newcastle 23, Mariners 25, Victory 26, Sydney FC 27. So what's that? That's 8 points between third and ninth. So, the Phoenix are hanging on, but I still think they might have enough. They'll need a few things to go their way. I'd love to think that they could, given the start to the season they had when they were living in the top three for so long. It's been challenging lately.
They can.
Yeah, I think they can. I think you're right.
They absolutely can. It's just when you look at their current form this side of Christmas or towards the end of last year, and you kind of ask these questions: what is going on with this team? So they absolutely have it in them. Same with the Football Ferns, and it's just finding their potential and finding the right formation and the right clicks, and can they do it in their last 6 games? Who knows? Who knows?
I guess we'll find out. And regardless of what happens over those 6 games, we'll analyse and unpack them all for you as the season reaches its climax for both the A-League men's and women's sides. Thanks, Bonnie. It'll be a slightly less busy weekend this weekend. Football Ferns are done. No game for the women, so we can throw all of our eggs into one basket and see how the Wellington Phoenix men go against Perth Glory on Saturday night. Another win, and they continue their march towards what now almost inevitably seems like home finals. Just quite how far up the ladder they can finish remains to be seen. Great to chat as always. Have an excellent week, and we'll speak again at the start of next week.
See you soon, Piney.
Football Fever on iHeartRadio. For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.